everyone. Before we get started, it's going to be more important than ever in this video to check out the description. We're going to see links to blasters by the categories that Santa talks about. We'll see some prices, a little bit more information. I was feeling kind of overwhelmed by taking the time to do a list, and I just have a hard time choosing. I love everything so much. So Santa said, hey, I'll come on, I'll talk about something. I'll make it about the children. And I said, all right, Santa, I don't have it in me, so you do it. So looking back, because Santa's not a professional YouTuber, I had some notes. The first note, check those descriptions for those missing bits. Santa's just kind of chatting, shooting the breeze about what he thinks a kid would like. I hope you enjoy this video. Oh, and don't forget, if you have any questions about any blaster at all, leave a comment. I have been getting a little bit behind on my comments lately, but I will definitely prioritize all the ones on this video for anyone buying gifts. All right, Merry Christmas. Talk to you soon. Happy December, everyone. Happy December. Maritime Foam really wanted to be here tonight, but he wanted to do the YouTube thing of doing the Christmas videos and the Christmas blasters, but to be honest, it all stresses him out, trying to choose a top 10 or a top list when he just loves it all. Whether it's from his friends at Dart Zone or Busby or Connects or Joe Blaster or X-Shot, he just finds so much joy in all of it that he finds it tough. So Santa agreed to come in and give you a bit of the lowdown. Now, this won't be your normal top 10 list. I'm going to talk a little bit about the types of kids that might enjoy a blaster, and we're going to go from young to old to the young at heart. Are you ready? I thought you might be. Now, Santa's going to be making some broad generalizations. I might say that a blaster's not great for little kids. You might say, but my young Timmy eats shards of glass and bench presses a motorcycle. He can prime anything Dart Zone has, and well, that may be, but I'm making some broad generalizations here. So I hope you'll forgive me. You know what? Santa's just going to give his beard a trim with a little Christmas magic so he can talk. Ho, ho, ho! That's better. Don't be alarmed, kids. Santa magic can put a beard down around your neck, just for clarity of talking. Now, we have a bunch of blasters laid out around the workshop and on the table, and all of December, if you have a question for old Santa about some Nerf or Busby or Dart Zone or any foam blaster, you leave it for Santa and I'll help you make a good purchase. Otherwise, anything you're going to buy, why, Google that blaster, Google the name of a talented reviewer out there, and I'm sure you will find a review. Now, I certainly haven't reviewed all these blasters. I mean, Maritime Foam hasn't reviewed all these blasters, but lots of other friends and elves have. From the famous Coop with his no-nonsense reviews, to the opinionated stylings of Drac and Walcom, and the whole wide foam blasting community. There's a reviewer for every blaster. You just need to look. But you're here with me, so let's talk about the littler kids, the littler ones who are excited. Now, I'm going to tell you a thing about a lot of the littler kids right off the bat. I know that Maritime Foam likes to say that in Nerf, coolness counts. Well, to a little kid, coolness counts even more. Why? One of his kids, one of their favorite was the X-Shot Hawkeye, a blaster that he does not enjoy. A single loading, folding blaster, but the young man thought it was cool because it looked kind of snipery. So that's the thing. You have to know the target of the blaster. You also have to be careful out there because there's a lot of franchise tie-ins. Now, a lot of the Fortnite blasters are just fine. I like a lot of them quite a bit. Some of them, like this Fortnite single shot giant shotgun or maybe the Zesty, aren't quite up to snuff. So make sure you do those reviews. But even the good ones, you're doing an awful lot of paying for the Fortnite, not paying for the blasting. But depending on little Sally or little Timmy's wish, maybe that's okay, but make an informed choice. Now, if those franchise tie-ins like Fortnite or Roblox or Minecraft don't really matter, well, in the modern Nerf, you have a lot of Elite 2.0 blasters. Now, a lot of these when they came out were not my favorite, but there's some good solid ones out there now, like the Ranger, a nice little 5-shot one, very easy to prime for young hands and young strength. Little blasters like the Trio that fire out 3 darts. Blasters like this Prospect that you put darts in the front and pull this back. It's also easy for kids, easy for younger Nerfers to operate. Lots of solid blasters from X-Shot, from Busby, that all have a similar darts in the front, ring or T-pulls in the back. Good, solid choices. What do all those blasters have in common? They don't have more complicated magazines, like a blaster like this. Those front-loading ones are easier for kids. Now, something like this in the Elite 2.0 line is still okay for a smaller kid. It has a shotgun thing in the front, a rev trigger. It's actually a motorized one. It takes batteries. It fires out darts. It's not bad, but I would suggest for those really little Nerfers, probably get something without the batteries. The batteries will run down. You'll put old crappy Kirkland Costco batteries in it, and you'll never get more than 60 FPS. While all those spring ones I just showed are getting 70 FPS, so they're a little bit more fun. Not that this is a bad blaster, I'm just wary of flywheelers for people who don't know what they're getting into. There's lots of theme blasters out there too in the Nerf world. There's dinosaur ones and dragon ones, and generally they're all fine for a kid to operate. That is one thing I'll say about Nerf. While they're not the most powerful in the business, all of their blasters operate around 70 feet per second and are pretty safe and reliable for younger kids. Going with the theme of easy front-loading Nerf blasters, I did say most of those Elite 2.0 ones are okay for kids. In the hobby, they don't like them as much. They're getting better these days with the Eagle Point and all of those. The only one I wouldn't really recommend is this Shockwave. Why, if a well-known YouTuber had the Shockwave first on his recommended Christmas list, and I put him right on my naughty list. This is not a good blaster. It's inconsistent. It doesn't fire well. It doesn't fire very far, even for a friendly, kid-friendly Nerf blaster. So I would look out for this Shockwave and not get it. If you want something with a high-capacity drum, now people will shout Adventure Force Villainator from Dart Zone, but the Villainator hits about 100 feet per second. It's a little harder to prime for our youngest class of Nerfers, which is what we're still talking about. So something like this blaster from Zuru with a drum that's a little easier to prime, holds lots of shots, inexpensive. This is a good option. Again, I'll have all these links below by category. Also in that easy to operate, fun to use, we have the Mega XL blasters. Pretty easy to prime. They fire big, giant, goofy darts. You do want to beware of anything that fires unique ammo because it might be a little bit more expensive. By far, the cheapest way to blast is with just regular long darts. For a lot of these blasters I'm talking about, I would just go with these Adventure Force green waffle head darts. They fly better than the Nerf darts. You can get 200 of them for $10 or $15 Canadian. They're a good dart. Now, if you're down in the US, you have a few more options. You have these chili darts, you have ruby darts, ember darts. Different darts can work better in different blasters. That might be something for comments down below. Before we leave those blasters for those smaller kids, let's not forget blasters like the Double Shot from Busby. They've been making this for years and years. You put your darts in shells, you put the shells in the blaster, and when you open it up, I just don't want to lose them, it ejects them out again. Is this a high performance blaster? No. Is it a ton of fun for a little kid? Why, it sure is. You just have to be careful you don't lose these shells. But something like this can be from a Dollar General for $10 or $11. All right, so now we've moved on. We're a few years past that lowest recommended age on the box or a little bit below. What do you want to get for them? Well, that's where I would really recommend a lot of blasters like the Vulcanator, the Spectrum. This one's licensed under Adventure Force, made by Dart Zone. This is sold by Target, made by Dart Zone. These blasters are fantastic, hit about 100 feet per second, a little faster than any flywheel Nerf blaster out there. They're both battery operated, but so much fun. What a great time. Also a flywheeler, you have big goofy fun like the Alpha Auto 72. Not a blaster I would get a kid for his first Nerf blaster, but more probably for a parent to be the boss in a Nerf battle really than any kid. But what a fun blaster. When kids are a little older, a lot of them really love, I know from running parties, anything that looks like a sniper. This Ultra Ferro is always popular at any party, but remember, it runs on its own Ultra Dart, so that can get a little expensive. There are lots of great blasters from X-Shot that hit a little bit harder than some of those Nerf blasters. That medium range is tricky. It's when a kid might not be as fascinated by a blaster that doesn't work as well, even though it looks cool, but maybe they're not big enough to operate the really hard-hitting ones. You really have to watch on a lot of these blasters, how hard is it to actually prime and operate it? Taking your kid around a store and getting them to actually check out a blaster and see if they can operate it isn't a bad idea. Just make sure you don't leave it primed in the box. Probably the best range of blasters for those kids in that middle age is Rival. Now some of these blasters take a little bit more hand strength to operate. They shoot around 100 feet per second. They shoot little round foam balls. The Percy's is probably one of the best Nerf blasters ever made. It's been going on sale for huge discounts. It doesn't come with this big extra hopper. Out of the store, it holds about 50 of those round Rival balls, and what a ton of fun it is. Although I will say, for that medium-aged kid, while it might be a lot of fun, it might get expensive if they're losing all those balls. A lot of times, it's just cheaper to stay in the dart firing zone. And for that medium age, I do like flywheelers because they're a little bit more responsible. They're getting 100 FPS, and they don't have to worry about being able to prime that blaster in order to do it. It's a tricky age. That medium age is also an age where they might like something like this Trailblazer that you prime with a hammer back here. It's a lot of fun. It takes a good sized hand to be able to do it, but you can actually dual wield this or a hammer shot, also a great blaster. These don't hit super hard, but if a kid is old enough to operate them, they can have a lot of fun dual wielding. Something that kind of overlaps from our youngest Nerfers to our older Nerfers are gel blasters. I know it doesn't fire foam, but I have had a lot of fun with the kids, or rather, Maritime Foam's had a lot of fun with the kids over the summer with gel. Kids love gel because they don't have to pick anything up. The balls biodegrade, tons of ammo, packets of ammo are cheap, you hydrate them, and then you fire, fire, and fire. If I was getting a gel blaster, I would lean for value, cost value to performance towards the Gel Blaster Surge. Maybe that Gel Fire Mythic from Nerf, because you can actually get it in stores. The Gel Blaster you can also get in stores, and there's a lot of comfort in that. One of my personal favorites are the Gel Blasters from On Lock, but those are very, very expensive. You want to know what you're getting into. I would recommend gel for that medium tier kid who's maybe getting a little too cool for something like the Ranger, but isn't quite big enough to operate those harder to prime blasters, like maybe the Deuce Pro, a very inexpensive blaster from Walmart that without this barrel fires 100 feet per second, and with the barrel fires like 130 some. That's because unlike a lot of Nerf blasters, which if you don't know this, longer barrels on Nerf blasters, bad. It's just more room for the dart when it goes through the flywheels to bounce around and lose performance. A blaster like this where the flywheels are way in the back, usually bad performance. This one does okay. The reason it's different for this one is this one has a metal barrel and a sealed breech, so that air doesn't get lost. It actually pushes the dart the whole way. You can get into that if you want to look at reviews for something like this Deuce Pro. But very inexpensive, and something you can give to that third older category that hits really hard. Because those bigger kids, they want blasters that hit harder. I should have mentioned, in that middle tier as well, something like the Fate that shoots Rival balls is pretty good. I would generally recommend for kids, stay towards the entry-level stuff for the most part. Keep it cheaper unless they really develop a passion for it, or you play a lot with them, and then you can kind of build up your arsenal. Don't waste too much money on a bunch of brand new stuff. You can thrift a lot of big impressive blasters for a fraction of the price. Something like the Fate, a newer Rival blaster, is really fun. It has a T-pull. It's only a single shot, but it's pretty easy to prime and fire. Now this one actually has a 3D printed kit in it, and it fires up to 5 short darts in an inline clip. Let's get into our third category. These are our older teenagers, the ones who are too cool for it all. For them, gel blasters, a good bet for them and their friends. And now we're getting into the strength to operate all these awesome blasters from Dart Zone. The Max line, like the Tomcat, firing short darts at 160 feet per second. The Dictator, also firing darts super fast, takes magazines. right into these pro blasters like the Mark 2.1 and even blasters like the Mark 1.2, a big rifle blaster over there that shoots 215 feet per second out of the box. And now let's go into our last category, our hobby grade. That could be our teen or young kid who's been into Nerf a while, probably should have a parent in the hobby with them. The Worker Nightingale is one of my favorite blasters. It is a short dart firing, magazine fed, flywheel blaster, semi-automatic, runs on LiPo batteries, really should be an adult helping them out, but this will fire 15 darts as fast as you can pull the trigger using micro flywheels. This is just such a fun blaster. I used it in an HVZ this summer. It's my favorite. I have 2 of them. Boop, boop. For dual wielding. Let's go back to this Fate for a minute. We have a very inexpensive blaster off the shelf that fires a single rival ball, and now with a 3D printed kit from Franz Foamworks, one of many awesome vendors online in the hobby, we have a blaster we can put 5 short darts in, and we can fire it, shake it, fire it, shake it 5 times. One of the ultimate things I always like to say for a Nerf accessory for a hobbyist or adult is a 3D printer. You can do so much cool stuff. Speaking of which, again in that hobby grade, check out Out of Darts. One of the biggest hobby stores that there is for foam blasting. This is a 3D printed kit that I assembled this blaster and wired it myself. It's one of the first projects I ever did. This shoots like 12 rival balls in a second. It is awesome. And you can go on their store, what a gift. You can go in their store, get something off the shelf like a Spectrum, and buy a kit that someone can make something like this into something that fires darts twice as fast. Maybe not twice as fast, but like 160, 170 feet per second out of a little cheap toy from Walmart. That's awesome. Now we're getting more into adults and nostalgia. Maybe find out a blaster that somebody had when they were a kid. Try to find it on eBay. The cool thing about a lot of foam blasters, they don't retain a lot of value. Hooray for having a whole bunch. But the cool thing is you can get almost anything that you're looking for not an arm and a leg. This is a cool whiptail scorpion blaster that fired darts off the tail when you squeeze the trigger. And this is a cool air blaster. These are from the 90s, 2000? No, 1994. Yeah, these are from the 90s. But what a cool gift to kind of give someone a bit of nostalgia too. I truly feel these days it's such a sweet time in the older kid or adult hobbyist category. We have so many options. The Nexus Pro was basically a meme for the question what blaster you should get for a while, for good reason. This inexpensive blaster from Walmart hit really hard, pump action. It took magazines, it had an adapter for short darts too. What an awesome blaster. You can still get this, it's very inexpensive, and it hits hard. You have a bunch of people with these, and you are having, you're having people will crucify me. You're almost getting into a paintball experience without any of the muss or fuss, and something you can do in a park or around your house. Last but not least, for that significant other, maybe you even want to get into the whole cosplay display blasters. If you have a Halo fan in the house, or an Aliens fan, maybe something from Nerf Limited is the ultimate gift. And for blasters of all ages, hobbyists, builders, whatever, these Connects blasters that you put together yourself, they're not high performers, but I feel like from little kid to adult, it hits that brick building itch that I think we never grow out of. I know this wasn't your usual video. I didn't fire things. I didn't talk a whole lot in detail about anything. I just wanted to let you know there's a lot out there. It's all a lot of fun. It just needs to find its way into the hands of the right person. I am here to help you with that. Leave a comment below. If you know someone who's doing some shopping, they have a bunch of kids different ages, Maritime Foam has kids at a bunch of different ages. He can help you. Leave a question and we'll do our best to answer all those questions. Maybe if you're doing some shopping for a foam figure in your family, I think the most important thing I would recommend is get yourself a blaster too. Get them a blaster, play with them. You'll have such a good time if you do. I would go so far as to say, if you let yourself get something like this, you'll get hooked before you know it. And when they start getting out of this hobby, you might get into it. And that's what happened to me, or Maritime Foam. I hope you have an awesome holiday. Don't go overboard on blasters too. There's so many good affordable options. These are only $7. There's nothing wrong with thrifting a bunch of blasters and giving a kid a loot crate. Put a bunch of things and darts in it. Nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna put my beard back on. For more recommendations on blasters, go check out some other people in the space. Between all of us, there's no excuse for buying a bad blaster like the Shockwave. This should never be on any list. Naughty list. Take care and Merry Christmas.